I think when you have kids that, have a lot of desire and a work ethic and have been raised by tremendous parents, and then they buy into what you're trying to accomplish, great things can happen. And whether it's student athletes, or if you're running a business and you try to hire good people, and they see the vision of what everything that you want to accomplish, and they buy into that vision, and they see the method behind the madness, they understand what you're trying to do. I've yet to really process what I saw take place really from Friday night to Saturday. And I'll have one question: did anybody see Saturday? Because I hadn't really seen too many people that actually saw it. James saw it, a couple other people saw it, but a lot of people were watching, but they turned it off when we're down 10-1 and didn't want to hear it. I've heard from you guys were getting the crap beat out of you, and we'd had enough of it, so we went out and did yard work. Next thing you know, we come back in and the game's tied, and just the fight that was in our players, the relentlessness that was in them. I've said this, I'm still really in awe of what they did. For some of you that may not know, on Friday evening, we were in a dogfight with a team from Connecticut, UConn Avery Point. And in that game, it was not my plan to throw Mitch Seawald. I knew if we had a chance to win, he could have very well started the game on Friday, but I said to myself, the best chance for us to win is to get him to Saturday and us win the first game on Saturday, and then we'll piece it together on the second game on Saturday. And then we get into an extra inning affair, and we actually brought him in the 6th or 7th inning. And we put 5 runs on the board and go up by 5 runs, and next thing you know, they score 5 runs. And so, it was a heavyweight type of boxing match Friday night, where you have 2 fighters that are continuing to throw blows and throw punches, and really the first fighter in a heavyweight match like that, in a boxing match, that doesn't hit back is going to be the one that actually loses. But they're going to go toe to toe, back and forth throughout that, and our players kept responding to UConn Avery Point's response, and it was back and forth, and we wind up winning the game in 13 innings, and we needed to win to survive and move on, but also it burned Mitch Seawald. And for some of you that saw that game, I don't know if you were able to see that radar gun that was being posted up there, but him coming out of the bullpen, he was throwing 98, 99 miles an hour. That is unheard of.
Wow.
At a college level, let alone a junior college level. And when he was doing that, he just wanted the ball and did it on 3 days rest. And so after the game, I'm talking to our team, and I have to tell them I have no idea who is going to pitch. I have no idea who's going to pitch on Saturday, because I didn't. But what I think is interesting to note is I told them I'm going to sleep on it, and I'll get up and we'll make some decisions. And before I retired to my hotel room that evening, Coach Orgain, our pitching coach and recruiting coordinator, I looked at him and have a tremendous amount of faith in him and the type of person he is and how hard he works and everything, and really a close friend of mine as well. It's always a tough thing when you're the boss of somebody that you feel like is a very close friend of yours, because sometimes you have to say some things you don't want to say to a best friend, but that's how it goes. But I told him, I said, I want you tonight, I want you to make sure that you pray about who's going to pitch tomorrow, because I have no clue, and I know you have no clue right now. And sure enough, we go to bed that night, and next morning we wake up, and I get with him. I said, so what do you got? And he told me, and I said, isn't that ironic? That's exactly what I have to. And it was just special to kind of see that transpire. And then we get into the game, and we knew we were throwing the right guys, but when you go down 10-1 in the game, you start to, you're sitting on the bench going, oh, that was wrong. That whole pitching scenario was wrong. And I remember my 8-year-old daughter, we're losing 10-1, and she walks down to the front row, and in the front row, if you got close enough to the dugout, you could see in the dugout. And my 8-year-old daughter, if you know anything, I've got more pressure from my 4-year-old and my 8-year-old daughters to win and go to the World Series than anybody could have imagined. Because the whole year, they're always telling me, "Are we going to the World Series? Are we doing this?" Because for them, it's it's almost like a vacation for them, and they get to go to the ballpark, and they get to see other family that they don't get to see throughout the year. And so she comes down to the dugout, and she peeks in when it's 10-1, and she gives me this look like, do you know what you're doing? and through that, I just smiled at her, and she gave me that look like, you guys better pick it up. And so, I was sitting there, and I don't think anybody anywhere outside of our dugout actually believed or even thought that we could come back and do what we were able to do. And I heard several players throughout the dugout start to say little comments. And sometimes they'll say something and they're just saying it to say it. But when they were saying it, you were believing it, because there was enough of them saying it. And then when I'd go out and make the many pitching changes that I had to make in that first game, I would look at those 4 infielders and our catcher, and they looked me in the eye the entire time. And that's always a sign. If they're looking me in the eye, then there's some confidence there. If they're not looking me in the eye, there's not some confidence, and they're starting to doubt. And they would say something to the fact that, Coach, this might be one of the best stories ever when this all transpires. And it's 10-1, and as a coach, I don't care who you are, you got to start to think like, how am I not going to get beat by 20 runs when it's 10-1 in the dugout? But just seeing all that transpire, and then all of a sudden we get a couple of runs and we get it to 10-5, and you're able to start to say, we're back in it. We're back in it. And the next thing you know, we're able to tie it. And Sam Wally, who was our number 3 pitcher, nobody got to see him, but he was in the dugout the entire time. He's playing first base for us. He was sitting when he'd come in the dugout, he'd sit on the bench, and all he would do, he was paying attention to the game, but he was just staring at me the whole time and staring at Coach Orgain the whole time. And you could tell, like, I want to pitch. And he had pitched a night before that night on Thursday evening and threw 100 and something pitches, so I'm not going to run him out there because we don't want to get the kid hurt. But he just kept staring at us and making comments. Are you going to put me out there? Are you going to put me out there? And at one point in time, Coach Orgain came to me and said, hey, we need to put him out there. I said, no, we got to get tied first. If we get tied, then we know we can put him out there, and then we can possibly, but if we get the game extended into extra innings, then we don't have anybody else to pitch. We're just going to waste a performance if we get into that extra innings, because we knew we could only probably get 30 pitches out of him. And sure enough, we put him in, and we tie the game. We actually we tie the game, and then they come back in, and they have runners at second, third with 1 out, so we have to draw the infield in. And if you all don't know Trey Caswell, if you know this story, you probably don't know this, but when Trey came and met with me over 2 or 3 years ago, when he came and sat in my office, I told him, I said, Trey, I don't think you'll ever play for us. Just being honest with you, honest, but I know you're a great kid. I know you're a hard worker, and if anybody can do it, you might be able to work yourself into possibly playing it, sparingly, or kind of be a role player, or really just a good program type of guy that's going to be in the dugout and do things the right way and this and that. And if you would have told me he would have started the game at shortstop, let alone the other games at second base, and been in and played every inning during that time 2 or 3 years ago, I would have probably told you we weren't very smart. And just to see what Trey Caswell was able to do with his career with us, and then it being able to end the way it did. But what happened was when we had that infield drawn in with 1 out, we got exactly what we wanted. We got a ground ball to the second baseman where Trey was playing. And so the guy was going to get thrown out at the plate, and we might be able to get a double play at first base and get out of the inning, and Trey missed the ball. And it goes in, and they score 2 runs to go up 12-10 at that point in time. And I'm sitting in the dugout thinking to myself, there wasn't another player on our field that I probably wanted the ball hit to, because I knew how hard he had worked and where he had come from and the type of player he had become. That's exactly what, and it just didn't happen. I thought of that, and we made this huge comeback to get us in a position to win the game, and then that happened. Little did I know that the story was going to get a lot sweeter because of that, because we're going to have to come back again. And they throw a ball, and so we got 1 extra pitch, and the next pitch, the pitcher throws a wild pitch to the backstop, and we tie the game. And at that point in time, when you knew you tied the game in that, you can imagine what their fans just did. Oh oh my, we were up 10-1, and now we're one pitch away from all this happening, and next thing you know, we throw a wild pitch, and now, I mean, you know at that point in time, it's all going to happen, just the circumstances, and we're able to score 2 more runs, and then come back, you know, and send Sam Wally back out to close it out. He gets 3 quick outs, and you knew right then. I mean, you knew right then that the next game, the F game, was probably going to be what it was, a 16-1, you know, win, you know, in that game. That even though they got that 1 run in the top of the first inning, or the bottom of the top of the first inning, and we had a couple of misplays, that it really wasn't going to matter, because, you know, our guys had all of that momentum, had all that confidence that even though we're down 10-1, they could do what they're able to do. And I think it's important for us all to take a comeback like that, because I doubt I'll ever see anything like that ever again. I've never seen anything like that on any type of baseball type of game, a comeback of 9 runs. It was the 5th inning. Sometimes you might see that if it's the 1st or 2nd inning, but not in the 5th inning. And so I may never be lucky enough to witness something like that again. But I think what we all should take from it is you know, we're all going to face adversity throughout our lifetimes. We're going to face things that are going to be good for us, things that are going to be bad for us, but we have to continue to fight through that adversity. And what those guys were able to do with that comeback should provide hope for a lot of people. Should provide hope, should provide, you know, confidence to get through tough times, because it doesn't matter how bad things are or how tough times are. Tough times don't last. Tough people last. And I think that group, I mean, I'm a coach, and I'm always telling them the cliche sayings and telling them all these things that they've heard since they're this big. But to actually witness that and them live through that, I'll be shocked to know that, you know, I wish I would have had a chance to talk to them a little more, but because we'll have some players that are part of that group. They're going to go through some really rough times at one point in their life. You know, they're going to go, you know, most of them, almost all of us in this room at some point or another probably have to go through some form of cancer or some type of treatment for cancer. And in that, what I witnessed and what those kids were a part of and who got to watch it take place, it provides fight, and it provides just confidence to fight through those type and hope through those things, because now those kids are going to have to face a lot of adversity or struggles throughout their life, and they can always look back on that scenario and say that they have some fight left in them. And I think that for us in here, and myself included, at one point, if you live long enough, you're going to get cancer. We all know that. If you live long enough, it's going to happen. And I think it's hope to fight through things, even though it doesn't matter how down and out you are, doesn't matter how bad you think things are going during that time. As long as you're willing to fight, you have a chance to get through some things. But I want to thank you guys for having me here today. Like I said, I've told numerous people it'll probably take me 6 weeks really to process everything that I've been able to go through the last 7 to 10 days. But I will say this, I have yet to be more proud of a group than I was this past week. I've never been as proud as I am for that group, with the guys that we had on the field and what they did and what they were able to accomplish, just because, you know, they deserve to have all that stuff happen to them as well.